Hey, thanks everyone for joining me. I'm excited to talk about camping versus RVing. Summertime is coming up and it's hard to believe it's, April and it's time to like make reservations. So I have Denise with me today and she's done this far more times than I have. So I'm going to let her share. So welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So much.
So tell us about your last camping or RV experience. Maybe start there.
Yeah. So ironically, it was supposed to be this week. I should have been calling you from that,
Oh,
but my
that's
kids
right.
got sick. So that had to be canceled. However, my last one we just did that we like to do yearly is in the middle of literally nothing but desert. It's near Ridgecrest in California. It's about near Bakersfield, Adelanto area. And there is just nothing but miles and miles and miles of just literally nothingness. And so you just take your RV out in the middle of the nothingness. And it's so much fun. It's rural camping. We do go with our RV for that trip. I think it'd be a little bit too difficult to do tent camping. But now that I have kids, we take their motorcycles, ours, and I mean you can just go for hours riding around everywhere. It's fabulous. It's cool because it's next to the army base, so we get to hear all the sonic booms or actually get to see all of them fly by, so my kids get super excited with that. um and it's just really great weather. Normally, like towards the end of the year, it gets a little colder. But we pretty much do that like every November, around Thanksgiving time. You don't have to make reservations. So it's really nice for like those last minute things, especially when you have kids and you're like, let's just go. It's so much fun. It's very relaxing. Your ability to see the stars at night because you're so far away from civilization is like unheard of. There's only probably one other place that I get as good as a view of that that's closer to the city. But like it's just you do your little campfire. It's a matter of like you can't see your hand in front of you if everything's off. If your RV lights are off, like it's pitch black. You hear all of the nice, sounds, the ambiance, just everything. We're like 4 miles off the road. It's fabulous. Like I super highly recommend for those in that specific area that can travel there. It's one of my favorite places, and it's literally off the beaten path, which is the fun part. People are like, "You're where?" And I'm like, "I know. Just when you see an opening in the gate, you make a right." Like
Wow.
it's that type of thing. But it's amazing. My kids will literally like they're 6, and they will literally beg me like, "Mom, when are we going camping there? When are we going to go, ride our motorcycles?" And they can live in the dirt all day long, and it's very clean. So ironically, it's very clean. And it's so nice, it's so relaxing, it's a great disconnect that I think most of us need.
Oh,
Bad.
it's so true. Yeah. So how do
Yeah.
you handle like the electronics? Is this like there's no connection or it's a
So
timeout or
Well, yeah, no, for the most part of the day, like we just choose to have them off. We do actually have cell phone service. So it's not that far disconnected. But it feels like you are disconnected from the world because of just how to get there where you're at. Not really anybody else around for miles. So in terms of my kids, like what we do when we go camping, like they know like it's going to be very limited screen time, if screen time. And honestly, when you're out, and there's things to do and there's just dirt to play with, like they get back into that flow, into that creativeness, and they don't even ask or care about electronics and screen time. I half the time don't need to do anything with that. They don't
nice.
ask for it. They're grounding most of the time, just, with their bare feet on the ground, walking around and having fun. Um, that they really don't ask for it, don't need it. Maybe at night when we come inside, because during November, right? Like the sun comes down a little bit earlier than we're used to.
Right.
And I won't put on like too much of the lights and stuff for them so that they can kind of just reset their circadian rhythm. And that's might be when like, hey mom, can we watch a little bit? I promise you they get through 5 minutes and then they knock out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Oh my gosh.
Like such a mom win.
Yeah, that is. So
Yeah.
tell me about some tips about food. Do you have to pack everything with you when you go here or?
Yes, definitely some prepping because we're so far out. It's not, especially with an RV at this specific location, it's not the most ideal to need to go back and forth unless you actually haul a separate cart with you, which just kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. So we do prep. We normally are there up to 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
we prep for a while.
Yeah.
And normally we don't go by ourselves. We do go with our parents who also have their own RV. So we'll do like a half and half, like you bring this half, I bring that half to make sure that everyone has everything ready to go. So we do have like a small refrigerator in the RV. Anything that doesn't need to be in there, we have like our separate big like Yeti container that we'll put dry ice or ice in and throw everything in there. Um, and just basically go about it that way. So there is a lot of, prep work that has to go
Yeah.
into it, but once you're there, you don't have to think about anything. And that's like the whole purpose of camping is just, I just don't want to be responsible for any thought processes that take more than like 5 glucose units.
Right. Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. So it is, besides the prepping, like it's so much fun. It's so much fun to disconnect. It's just there's nothing like it. And with how busy our lives are now, it just gets crazy at the thought of disconnecting. But when you're finally there, time slows, right? Like if
Yeah.
anyone's ever like gone through that, it's just like, how is the time feeling? Like, how has it only been 2 hours? Where 2 hours to me at home would have been
Oh,
I got nothing done, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it. It's just when I say a week and a half to 2 weeks in our busy schedule time, we're like, wow, that's a long time. But when you're there, you feel like you're there for a month. And it's
Wow.
exactly what you needed to just disconnect, re-energize, get, pumped back up again. Um,
Right.
build your passion for whatever it is that you were looking to disconnect from in the first place and kind of reignite all of that, which is the part that I love about it.
Right. And then spending time with family like that, what a great way to connect and before you head into like the craziness of the holidays.
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely reconnecting. I think it's great for my kids because I have twin boys
Oh wow.
and they're identical twin boys and they're 6 right now. So we've been doing this since they were little. Before that I used to tent camp. I never did RVing until I had kids just because of
Okay.
obviously weather and just all of those things. Before that I did environmental camping. Like I was straight like let's go and let's just rugged the
Talk
way.
about environmental camping. What you mean by that?
So there's actually environmental camping parks, and what they
Oh,
are basically also it can be a camping ground where you have something assigned or a camping site assigned, but there's no bathrooms, not even a hole in the ground or like anything like that. Like it's literally you dig, you go,
oh,
and you
okay.
cover it back up. And so there's really just nothing. It's environmental. And so that's as rugged I think as you can get when it comes to tent camping.
Yeah.
So but it's so much fun. Like if you're able to and if you feel like up to like a nice little challenge, it really is so much fun. That really shows, at least for me, what it did was like give me just much more appreciation for the things that I do have, right? Something as
Right.
simple as a toilet that
Yeah, exactly.
functions and flushes. I'm like, oh, this feels great.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
showers, all of those things, but also just kind of really reconnecting back to your roots. And I don't know how, like another best way to say that. And what I mean by that is like, just to relax, not have the day-to-day worries, not, you know, freaking out, fight or flight 24/7 about work, about not getting this done and checking this off. And it's like you just get to be present and in the moment. And there is literally nothing like that. like nothing
Yeah.
like that beats it. So, having to figure things out and just having fun with others that are around there that you may know or may not know. Um, that
You're
connection with people, like there's just nothing that beats that. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So where
It's
are some places that you can do that at? Do you have to, is it just literally where you're allowed to maybe park your car or, because I know at least California, it seems like, and other states may be like this too, but I'm most familiar with California. You can't even sometimes park near the beach.
right.
And, I've parked near the beach and sometimes, the cop is swinging by and you're in the middle of a nap and they're like, nope, you can't, move along or, all of that. So maybe you
Oh
should
yeah.
talk a bit
I've
about
done that
that.
too. I'm driving 8 hours, please just let me
I
take
know,
a
I
nap.
just want to take a little nap here. I'm like not doing anything.
Totally. So one of my favorite places in California, actually, it's about a 4-hour drive from where I'm at. I'm in Southern California. It's called Montana De Oro. And it's near it's like 30 minutes above Pismo Beach, 20 minutes, but that like Bay Area.
Right.
So it's probably my favorite place to camp, like tent camping. Oh, like that's the second place. So the one I was talking about with the RV, I mean, the sky is just amazing.
Yeah.
But at Montaña de Oro, you get that sky, but it's the weirdest thing because you're right up against a mountain and a quarter mile from the ocean. So it's like your brain takes a while to like, wait, so where am I? Like you're in between these two little worlds. And the
Yeah.
nice part is that at night, you're up against these mountains and you either are environmental camping or right next door, they have just regular tent camping spots with your nice little, hole in the ground and
Right.
that works. Um, and you're up against the mountain. Like you wouldn't know any better that you were not directly in a mountain per se and right next to the beach. And about a quarter of a mile, no more than that, you're literally in this little bay. And so just to hear that has this massive rock you can climb if you're,
Yeah.
if you want to get up on there and have the waves crashing in between, it's amazing. But you hear the waves all night. It's like natural, that calm music space
Yeah.
that people pay for to listen to at night to put them to bed.
Right.
You can see nothing but stars because you're not near civilization. It's about a couple miles away. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. You do have to be a little careful with friendly neighbors in terms of animals. So
Yeah.
I have seen a couple foxes there, among the campground. Other than that, you're getting your regular raccoons and stuff, nothing major. But there are a lot of, because it's on the beach, there are tons of trails that you can either go into the mountain or onto the beach. So it's like you have the best of these both two worlds. And it's gorgeous. Once my kids get a little bit older, because it will get pretty cold, um, totally doing tent camping there with them.
Ah,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. We go normally in the morning. We'll go wake up a little early before sunrise and then walk over to that little cove area that's there, that little bay, and then climb that massive rock. It's probably about 2 stories high. But
Yeah.
there's a little spot that you can hang on and climb up. And in between that, it has like a nice crevice where all the waves go crashing up.
Wow.
You could get wet if you wanted to, but you can see like otters, in the morning. There's been a couple times where we see a couple of other like sea animals, and things like that. So it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. You get to, choose what is it? Two birds, one stone
Yeah, exactly.
situation. Um, and it's just lovely. So for that, you do make a reservation. It's on like either Reserve America or one of those campground sites
Right.
that I think that you do, but it's called Montaña de Oro, or basically Mountain of Gold. And they have environmental sites, they have tent camping, and I've never looked into whether they have RV camping, but I don't think that they
Yeah, I'm not
do.
sure if I remember. I've been through there just in the springtime. It's beautiful, all the wildflowers and
Yeah. And besides that scenery, like, and then that scenery alone is additionally gorgeous. And so it's beautiful. And you're right next to Monterey Bay, you're next to Pismo Beach. I know Pismo Beach has a lot of beach camping, that you can do there too. So it's so much fun. It's so much fun. There's so much to do.
Yeah, exactly. So what
Yeah.
are some things gear-wise that you liked when you go camping? Some things that you can't live without when you
So tent camping.
Yeah.
Okay. So tent camping. You better have a really, depending on when you're going camping, where you're going camping, you need to have a fabulous tent. My favorite types of tents are the ones that you can take the whole top off and you can see everything from the top, the rim.
Yeah.
Normally you get like the ones that are a little bit more inexpensive and you only have like maybe a little
Yeah.
triangle here or there that you can see out of. I learned very quickly going to Montana De Oro that the best way to get your 360 view at night
Yeah.
is to just invest a little bit more into a tent that has that full 360. Like basically it's nothing but mesh from halfway up. And you can take that off, visualize, see everything gorgeous, make sure that, mosquitoes, whatever, aren't coming into your tent at the same time. And then you can put it right back on. And that's it. So that's number one. I think if you're going to do tent camping, you want one of those. Secondly, always investing in a really good sleeping bag because you
Yeah.
never know when the weather is going to turn.
Right.
And I've camped in Death Valley and sometimes you think it's going to be only so cold and then it gets 20 degrees below what you thought it
Yes.
was and you brought just the wrong gear. So that's always fun. So making sure, again, it might be slightly more expensive, but it's going to last you anything you'll ever need to go through. And making sure that the degrees goes a little bit lower than your regular 30 or 40, depending on where you're going to be camping. Those are must-haves. And then for sure, my other favorite stuff is to make sure that I will always take what are those long johns or
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, getting really, really good thermals is always important depending on where you're going to be, because I think one thing that people don't anticipate because we live indoors all the time is that you don't have a heater. And even though you're in a tent, it doesn't get warmer
Right, exactly.
at night,
It's
right? Like,
just a tent, right?
yeah, it's literally just so that you don't see the neighbor.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think if people are going for their first time, they're those big crazy like 10 people tents, five different, there's no space for that. Like if you can show me a really good tent space for those massive ones,
Yeah.
people would be fighting over that. So I think people when I go camping, I have camped with those that do that. And they quickly realize you can't actually put out the whole thing. It
Right.
doesn't fit on the site. It's just impossible. So, making sure you're thinking about those kinds of things are really important. Just tent for size. Know that you're not going to be in there all day. The
Yeah.
whole point of tenting is like to be outside in nature. And having that. So, with that said, a really good heater that's propane based, that has an inverter that's not going to throw toxins at you
Yeah.
inside your tent is always a good idea to just have on hand. And other than that, emergency food, because again, you just never know when stuff's going to happen. Um, and you just want to make sure that you have everything that you're going to be prepped for. I think those are like really, I'm pretty basic.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good though. So if someone's like a first time camper, are there like groups or sites or, you know, tips for them? I mean, if they've never done it, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? If you've never done camping, first of all, get with someone who wants to do the same type of camping that you are saying you want to do, and get tips and trips from them. I am aware of a couple of groups. I can't remember what their names are, but Facebook has groups for everything. And there's actually people that will create like a bunch of singles go together or a bunch of couples go together, or there's different groups for
Yeah.
and they'll literally like, hey, we want to do tent camping here, 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 and here. Anyone have tips? Anyone want to join? And they have so much fun with it. And like I said, I think just camping in general really helps you to reconnect with others where our busy lives, unfortunately, don't
Yeah.
like we don't think about it. It's not like an active thought and it's sad. I have to admit to it, I'm one of those because I've lived in my home for almost 8 years this year and I hardly know my neighbors.
No, I think
Like
that's
so
true
sad to
across
say
the,
it.
yeah, it is sad. It's like, and to go to a campfire, I mean, that's the idea that appeals to me, and just, the conversation then is just going to happen.
Oh, there's no way it can't. We like to go to a couple of other places that we did this past year. We did like the whole Lake Powell,
Oh,
the
nice.
Zion National Park, the whole like that whole area. We went all the way up to Colorado and came back, Arizona, um, and did all of that fun stuff. And when you're at the campground, I never realized how many people come from Europe, from South America to come to California, Arizona, Utah. And I was like, what of all places in the world? Why are you here? They're like, everyone comes here for your guys' views of all the like the camping, Death Valley, um,
Wow.
uh, Monument Valley, which is probably one of our favorite places, Moab, right? Like all of these really
Yeah.
great places to go. And I could not believe, I felt like most people we were running into at the campsites were international.
Hmm.
And I was just like, what? I
Yeah,
can't
that's
believe it.
interesting.
Yeah, they don't really have what we have here. The roads are, in talking to them, the roads are not wide enough for RVs, like our regular size RVs. Um, and they don't really have like national parks and things like that. Everything's very cramped. And so I remember talking to one family that was from Germany, and they were like, we love coming over here. Everything's so open. And of course, to me, I'm like, I live right outside of LA. And I'm like, what do you mean? We are so,
Yeah.
because we have such different ideas of what everything, and I'm sitting here like, I'd love to go see and visit you.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
are. But it's every place has its differences, and I really didn't realize until the past 2 years that we started doing RV camping a lot more with our kids, just because of their age, that we've run into so many people from all over Europe, Asia that will come over. I didn't know Death Valley was such a huge popular destination internationally, for the caverns and for all of the things that you can do there. But it's just it's pretty amazing. So we've made some really cool friends and acquaintances on the way to just seeing what there is within the states here
Wow.
where we live, and how so many people really come to admire those same places that we're just taking time out of our busy schedules to go to. So
Right. And you're right, they're just kind of in our backyard in a way, but we just kind of forget or don't realize how special they may be.
absolutely, 100% agree. 100%. We don't realize how much we actually have just right in our backyards, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
So,
gorgeous.
what do you have for tips on reservations? You mentioned how early do you think people need to think about, some of these places,
Oh,
especially if they have like an RV? I suppose it's a little bit more challenging if you have an RV for some of these destinations.
yes. So there are definitely some major differences between tent camping and RVing when it comes to reservations. And I learned that the hard way 2 years ago. I was very used to tent camping and just being able to
Yeah.
swing it, and we want to go tomorrow or this next week, and you'll find something. With RVing, depending on the size of your RV, depending on the year of your RV, I learned that the hard way.
Oh,
There's certain campgrounds or RV parks that have certain requirements. One of which was like it can't be more than 10 years old.
really?
Yeah, I had no idea. And it was ironically, we were trying to go to an RV park right outside of Disneyland and stay there for the week to take my
Yeah.
kids for the first time. And my parents have a newer RV. We did the whole get an older one, refurb, do that whole thing for us and our kids because they're small, they're not going to take care
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
Why
Right.
invest in a larger one? So, um, they made us take pictures of our RV and like do all this stuff. And they're like, oh, yours isn't like all beat up. And I was like, no, it's, you can see that it's visibly older, but it's not jacked up. So we had to get approval to get into that RV park. And I was like, are you? And then we got to the
Wow.
RV park and there are some broken down, jacked up RVs. And I was like, what were they worried about? Like,
Yeah, or what pictures did they send in? It's
yeah,
like,
I was just like, well, I don't know if they've been there and then they're the reason for the new rules. I have no clue. But that was the first time we had ever run into that, which I found very odd.
yeah, that's
Um,
very odd.
yes. So there will be RV parks that have their own set of rules. So that's one thing to always make sure you book before. The places that are going to fill up, and I mean like you need to reserve now for like 6 to 9 months ahead, are places like Moab, anywhere in Utah, pretty much, because that's where everyone wants to go during spring, summer, and late October. The places that we've gone there when it's winter time, and you have a little bit more availability and flexibility. But it will also depend on the size of your RV and what you're looking to do with it,
Mm.
depending on your slide outs, if you have slide outs or not, if you're going to use them or not. Um, but those big places, Yosemite and Sequoia are infamous for having to reserve like a year out. Um, and if you're going with two or more RVs, if you're going with, a couple other people, even earlier, you need to book it.
Okay.
It can get pretty rough out there. If you're not going to be part of a RV like membership. So
Mhm.
we have a membership to the KOA campgrounds. I think it's like $33 a year or something
Oh, that's
ridiculous.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dirt. And you get access to all their campgrounds and reservations, all of that stuff. And so that's one that we've really liked and that we've stuck with. So they will give you sometimes a little bit more priority in being able to get into certain places of their campgrounds. But overall, I would say for the most part, especially during on seasons of where you're going with an RV, you've got to book pretty soon in advance, especially if you're going with more than one RV.
Okay.
Tent camping on times can get crazy with tent camping, like Montana De Oro, a couple other tent camping spots we like to go to. They can get pretty crazy in terms of availability. But for the most part, if you're tent camping, you're pretty flexible and you can find something either there or nearby. It's the RV that causes a little bit more
Right, a
trouble.
little bit more planning has to go
Yeah,
into it. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's on your next go-to list for, do you have trips planned?
Yes, we do. We were actually just talking about that this week since we had to cancel our plans this week,
Yeah.
where we're going to next. So every November-ish, we pretty much go to that place near RIdgecrest, which is like
Yeah.
our favorite. So that is always on our list. Um, we are looking to go. We did a real quick drive-by this past summer into Lake Powell, but I realized there's so much more to do there that we missed doing for the allotted time that we had to be there. So this time we're planning on going the southern route and actually going through Arizona. Normally we go up through Vegas, St.
Okay.
all that way. So this time we want to go the other way and spend more time that way. And then probably spend more time at the Grand Canyon. We've only like ever driven through there maybe 3 or 4 times on the different uh,
Right.
northeast, southwest that they have. And actually stay there and do stuff. There's that train that I really
Oh,
want to do.
yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah, me too. And so I was like, okay, my kids are getting old enough. They're not gonna, piss anybody off on this train. They can actually, stay quiet and stuff now. So I'm definitely considering that. And for that, you do stay somewhere nearby. We can definitely do that in an RV, do the train thing for the 3 days, and then come back and then continue on our way. So we definitely want to go back to Lake Powell. That's like major on our list. And we actually want to venture out from southwest. We want to start going a little bit further east, and probably a little further north. I'd love to do. more into Colorado because we barely clipped that on one of ours. So there's a lot more. My parents are the ones that did like a 5 week
Oh
this
my gosh.
past year cross country and freaked me out on one of the times that they left. But um, I definitely want to do a cross country and hit up all the national parks. We have our little passport where you get the
Yeah,
stamp,
right,
all that
right.
stuff. My
Yeah.
kids love it. Are we getting our stamp? Are we getting our stamp? Are we going
Oh,
to get another
wow.
badge? So they have like their little badge of us and everything that we do, and they love it. They love it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
definitely a lot of plans coming up that we'll be doing during the summer, and that's why we're talking about it now. We have to book it now.
Right.
It's just not there's not going to be any availability.
How young were your kids when you actually started taking them camping and RVing?
So we did it rugged when they were 4.5.
Really? Oh my gosh. Wow. Because with two of them, I mean, that's like,
That was our first, and that was not planned. That one was actually not planned. So they were about 4.5 months old. We went to Vegas to visit my family, my husband's family. And then I was like, I'm the type that's like, well, we're already here. So
yeah.
my husband hates that. And so I sat there and I was like, well, we're all the way in Vegas and we got to drive back. Why don't we go this way? So we actually ended up going to the Grand Canyon and doing the skywalk
Oh my gosh.
with them. So we have like their poor little freezing
Yeah.
4.5 month old bodies on this skywalk, which was so fun. They don't remember anything. And then we went through Sedona and then Phoenix. And so we stayed in Sedona for a couple of days and we only had our forerunner at the
Oh.
time. So it was raining. So, and you know, you can four by it. So we did a little bit of that with them in their poor little car seats. So we did it as early as that. When we started doing our RV camping was about 3 years ago. So they were about 3 years old. Before that, we did have to do like hotels and stuff. You know, they're little, their
Yeah.
bodies can deal with what ours can.
Right.
So yeah, now our RV is termed Mater because they love the movie Cars and it's a little older. So we call it Mater.
Oh, how
And
cute.
yeah, so they're like, are we gonna go in the Mater, Mom? Like, are we gonna go in the Mater? Like, yeah, we're gonna go in the Mater. So they love it. I think the sooner you get your kids out into nature, like the more you're gonna have a hard time getting them out of nature later.
Yeah, I think that is,
All day, every day over Disneyland.
see, that's fabulous. And that they look forward to it and they're actually asking, like, when are we going? I want to be outside. I want to play in the dirt. Oh, that's so amazing.
They love it. They
And
love
I
it.
think it's just a great way, as we all know, to like work well. I mean, it's just part of being wellness, getting out of the city and getting away from that. You can almost feel the shift when you drive away from
Oh
Los
yeah.
Angeles or these big cities and you head out. You just feel it's like feels calmer. All of a sudden it's not so this rush, rush, rush.
Yes. And sometimes that freaks people out though, 'cause I'm actually in the wellness space and I had to get myself like, you need to stop working. You need to slow down. You do need to go out in nature more than just your 15-minute walk in the morning, right? Like
Yeah.
that doesn't totally count
No, it really
for
doesn't.
nature.
And it does. It
So,
is a shift at times because
yeah.
you do hit those quiet periods where you're like tempted to like, oh, I should check my email. Oh, I should,
Yes.
there's somebody I need to call. Oh, I didn't follow up with that. And
Yeah.
that creeps back in. And
At like 1,000 miles an hour because we just don't know how to relax anymore and not stay calm. Like I'm a very calm person, but inside things are like jamming and 100,000 tabs are open and it's like, how am I going to get this done? Blah, 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 you know, and you get this chronic freeze response. And when you go, like one of the rules that we do have is that when we're going camping, no phones, no electronics during the day. Like if you need to make a call because life is still there or check some emails, there are reserves time slots for that. And that's it. That's all that's allowed. And after that, you turn it off. So sometimes that's hard for me, and I implemented the rule.
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah.
My husbands or my kids are like, Mom, and I'm like, oh.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. It's like just one more. I just got to check one more thing. Just one more.
I think we're all guilty of that. And we tend to go camping for a long time, like 2 weeks most of the time. So, things are bound to creep up in terms of things that need to get done or respond to. But I think if you go into it with, this is disconnection time, these are the rules that I'm going to set for myself or for my family or whoever we're going with. And then you also think a little bit about what you're going to fill that time with. Because
Yes.
if you do get bored and you do have that downtime, which you will have, you have to know how to unstructure it. And it's like, I'm just going to bask in the sun right now and not think about anything. And that's okay. So, because I have gone with people that are very much like, I got to go back. I got to go back. And I'm like, go back to what?
Yeah.
You got to learn to disconnect. You got to
Yeah.
unplug. And once they did, they didn't want to leave. And it's an art to be able to do that. It's not as easy as just saying you're going to turn off. There
No.
has to be some intention there and some planning for that. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. Taking games, like, do you remember what it is to play games or what games you used to play? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's hard. It's hard. And honestly, one thing that helped me was having my kids. If I didn't have my kids, I don't know that I'd be actively disconnecting at the moment like I should be. And like I tell patients to be.
Right. I was just gonna say. So this has been an amazing chat, Denise. But tell people how they can reach out to you. I don't know if you have a website or what your
Sure.
other things that you're doing are in your regular life.
Yeah. Yeah, so in my grown-up pants, I'm a board certified advanced holistic nurse, and so wellness is our everything that we do, and which is part of disconnecting and camping, why we have to make sure that it's planned very uniquely throughout the year. So our website is alternativesforselfhealing.com. And we actually do have a physical wellness center in Upland, California, which is Southern California, where we offer a variety of our services, and some of which are international. We have international clients, depending on what services you actually need. So it's tons of fun. We will always, always, always prescribe relaxation and camping
No,
as
that's
part of our
great.
health coaching, because disconnecting is key. Disconnecting is so key, and reconnecting. And when I say disconnecting, I don't even mean that, like reconnecting to your circadian rhythm, the earth's energy, and that's only done with being out in nature, in true, true nature, not our first world country view of nature.
Yeah, no, it's very
It's so
true.
important. It's so important. And all of us need it. It's pretty amazing what it can do for your health with immediate results. No need to wait. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
fab.
being outside is free. I mean, you just got to get out there. I mean, people are concerned about money these days, and I think that's like the best thing you can do for your health. Oh, I love this, Denise. This is fabulous.
100%.
So I'll put your contact information, your website in the show notes, and thank you so much for everyone who's joined us. And contact Denise if you've got camping or RV questions, especially with twins. I bet she has lots more tips to share.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks.